Once upon a time, in one of Santa Claus's little elf villages, there lived a small elf called Mittens. Mittens was a cheerful soul, skipping through a land where gumdrops grew as tall as boulders, gingerbread houses sparkled with frosting, and candy cane forests swayed like crystal pines. It was a picture-perfect place where no shadow ever seemed to fall. The only sorrow that might make Mittens cry was when an ice cream cone slipped from his tiny hands onto the sugared ground. Aside from such small tragedies, life seemed blissfully perfect. Mittens often roamed the bright grounds, gathering lollipops from the lollipop trees and marveling at the swirls of color in the sticky glass-like sweets. He loved to sit in the peppermint grass, licking the treasures he had collected, watching the other elves skip past with giggles. But hidden inside him was a streak of mischief, a curiosity that tugged him toward darker corners. One day, when no one was watching, Mittens crept into an empty gingerbread house. There, with trembling fingers, he tried something forbidden, a cigarette, stolen from who knows where. He puffed clumsily, trying to feel older, bolder, but a stray ember fell onto the sugar walls. In seconds, the whole house flared up like dry kindling. Flames licked the frosted windows, the roof sagged under black smoke, and Mittens, in terror, fled the blazing house. He ran until his legs gave out, finally collapsing at the base of a giant gumdrop boulder. There, his sobs shook his tiny frame as guilt gnawed at him. Of course, the smoke was seen. The elves came running, and Santa himself soon stood before the fire's ruins. They found Mittens crying in the open, and when asked what had happened, he confessed without lies. He told them he had started the blaze. Santa's face darkened. Mischief and disobedience had been spreading in the village, and now it had come to this. He decided an example had to be made. Mittens begged, pleaded, clutched at Santa's red robe, but Santa's judgment was firm. He decreed that Mittens would be sent away to the one place whispered of in dread, the reform school for elves. A prison van was brought, and sobbing, Mittens was taken from his sugar-sweet world. Santa allowed him one mercy, to carry along his most precious possession, his threadbare teddy bear named Fuzzy. When Mittens arrived at the reform school, the world he knew ended. The walls were stone and iron, crowned with barbed wire. The skies above were grey, not candy-colored, and the air reeked of coal and damp. He was told plainly, he was now a prisoner. His future depended only on obedience, and even then, there was no promise of release. His first task was brutal, wielding a sledgehammer to break giant boulders into gravel. His hands blistered, his body ached, and already, the other prisoner elves glared with cruelty. Soon the bullying began. On his way to the quarry, some inmates shoved him into a mud puddle, ruining his one red Santa suit. In the mess hall, another stuck out a foot and tripped him, sending his food crashing to the floor while laughter rang out. Tears burned Mittens' eyes as he tried to hold on to Fuzzy, the only comfort he had left. But even Fuzzy was not safe. One grim evening, two cruel elves chased Mittens down, wrestled him to the ground, and snatched the bear from his arms. "Give him back," Mittens wailed, but they only laughed, striking a match. Before his horrified eyes, Fuzzy went up in flames. Mittens' cries echoed through the yard as ashes drifted on the cold wind. His only friend was gone forever. Life grew harsher still. The guard's dogs snarled and snapped if he paused even for a breath. At night, bullies dragged him to the toilets and shoved his head into the toilet bowl, laughing as they gave him royal flushes. Mittens' little ears drooped lower with each passing day, and his once cheerful eyes grew hollow. His world had shrunk to labor, hunger, and humiliation. Weeks turned to months. He was beaten, given wedges, mocked until he lay broken in the infirmary. But even there, the guards told him coldly that his sick days would not shorten his sentence, they would extend it. Other prisoners whispered their stories, elves punished for stealing a gumdrop, for slacking off in toy-making, for cutting down a candy cane in the forest. Many had been trapped in this place for decades. Mittens realized then that his crime, burning down a gingerbread house, was far worse. He might never see Santa's village again. He grew hard on the outside, silent and cold, but inside, the sorrow never left him. At night, we would sit on the toilet and would still cry into his hands, remembering Fuzzy, remembering the gumdrop fields, wondering if Santa had already forgotten his name. At last, one bleak morning, during roll call, Mittens broke. As the guards barked orders and the prisoners stood in rows, he bolted toward the fence, the tall, electrified barbed wire that ringed the school. Sparks crackled as he threw himself against it, and in a burst of light and smoke, Mittens the elf was gone. In Santa's village, the gumdrops still glistened. The candy canes still swayed. But no one ever spoke of Mittens again. The end.